Bitcoin, Ethereum, we'll see where they are right now. Obviously, mainstream crypto Twitter is going crazy, arguing about, comparing this fractal to that fractal and what's a 4-year cycle, what's an extended cycle, 2020, 26, all these different things. Nobody really knows what's going on. One thing that we can say is that the entirety of this cycle has really been under a quantitative tightening environment from macroeconomics. We are seeing that lifted starting December the 1st. The Fed will no longer be in a quantitative tightening status. And starting in September of this year, we saw the rate cuts from the Fed in the United States. We saw it again in October. We figure there will be another one in December, although Jerome Powell, of course, has thrown cold water on that. What else? I mean, we've had 40 some at least $1 billion already printed and injected into the banks here in the United States. We're seeing money printing. And a new stimmy check is on the way. So, I mean, a huge catalyst in the last cycle, whenever there was a certain disease that some people took more seriously than others, a few years back, there was a lot of stimulation going on in terms of money being printed. That was a huge catalyst for last bull market. But this is a definitive one. I mean, this isn't like a political talking point. It sounds like Trump, like that we definitely are going to see $2,000 stimulus checks to the homes of every American earning less than $100,000 a year, I think it is. So definitely another injection of cash we have coming. I didn't mean to get into all that necessarily now, but just in terms of where we are with Bitcoin and Ethereum, very weird, unique cycle. It is different this time. It's pretty much factual in terms of how Ethereum and altcoins have compared against Bitcoin. We've only seen Bitcoin run. Ethereum's never even done more than hit its all-time high for about 2 hours on a Sunday a couple months back. So, yeah, I ask you, Ewok, where we are at right now, what you think is going to happen. It's mid-November. I don't think anybody would have thought this, but yeah, we have Bitcoin at just under 102K right now. It had a pretty big red candle today. ETH at 3,400. You heard me right, 3,400. Its high remains at about 4,900. And yeah, where do we go from here? There's 6 to 7 weeks left in 2025. And I think it's safe to say this year is probably not going to be what most people thought. But that doesn't mean that life is over. So yeah, what do you make of this, Ewok?
Well, I mean, so I'm on ETH now, and there is somewhat of an upward trend. I don't know if you can spot it here in the chart in the last week or so. The lows have been getting higher. Yes, there was a pullback today, and it did go a little bit lower than what it was yesterday. But it has retraced yet. The day's not quite over yet. It could end up finishing a little bit higher. And it's done that the last several days. It dips and then it pulls back and it goes up and it goes up and a little bit more each day. I think that's bullish. I think there's bullish sentiment out there. The interesting thing that I heard as well is there were even more liquidations. The longs are just getting annihilated everywhere you look, and especially on Bitcoin. Some of these candles have taken out another $100-200 million worth of longs. So eventually, those people that keep placing their leverage longs are going to run out of money. And at that point, that's when you look for the springboard action. I do want to show this chart, and I know people have shared it before, but it's been a while since we've taken a look at it. And I don't know, can you see it okay here? Or
yeah, I would. Yeah, there you go. That's decent.
So it's interesting when you look at this. This is back in the, I don't even know when this was written. I think 1875. It says it down here. I don't think it was then because they weren't really talking about money at that point. But you look here at this mid range. 2019 was very, very good leading into 2020. Here is another one though is impressive, or not impressive, but just interesting that it says 2026 is a off peak, but it's a high here in 2026. Now, we've also got the 369 formation going here as well, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
Again, there's something to be said here when and these predictions have become pretty close to being accurate. 2008, there was a very big downturn here in the markets as well. So it's just the way things have played out. I find it interesting, and I wanted to share this again, that it does say 2026 is a high point for this mid-cycle. It says years of good times, high prices, time to sell stocks and values of all kinds. So, I just wanted to bring this back, into view here. So, all right, let's go back to the chart. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say real quick in terms of the recent BTC chart, I texted you guys the other night. We see basically weekly, constant manipulation, obviously, more manipulation probably with this market than we've ever seen because of all the institutions that are in it. But you can predict these things almost as clear as day. We saw Bitcoin rally all day Sunday, when it was just by the skin of its teeth, it made and closed above the weekly 50 simple moving average, which, has just continuously happened where it figures, oh boy, if we close below here, and then it rallies all day Sunday. And even Ben Cohen was posting all surprisingly and look at that, Bitcoin beats it. It's like, yeah, of course. People are messing with this stuff. I think it's very clear that that's what's been happening. So we, maintain that bull market structure. And then here we are yet again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all that sells off back down here at 101. Might as well go to 98 again or something. I'm sure that'll probably happen by the end of this week, if not lower. And if it does, I don't know where we could close in the week, but to me, this is just a continuation of this long, middling slog that is shaking out tons of people. And in a weird way, maybe we're gaslighting ourselves, but if you're an altcoin holder, which you're watching this, so you are, or Ethereum or anything other than Bitcoin, essentially, the game plan is, what am I going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to lock in a losing trade? Something that RH just talked about the other day that we'll get into. But are you going to lock in a losing trade that's been losing for years and buy the top of Bitcoin? Not the top, but you know what I mean? Buy Bitcoin when it's high. Go buy gold when it's high. Go buy stocks right now. Why would you rotate out of crypto to buy something that historically performs worse, and buy it at this moment? And I understand it always feels like taking some sort of action is what is needed in a time like this. And it is so hard to sit on your hands because it feels like I'm doing nothing. I've got to do something,
Yeah.
Well,
and I agree with that. I agree with that. The time to do something is now, and the time to take risks is now when things are low. Unless you've already made it and you're looking to be a little more conservative where you would back out of it and put stuff into more indexes and just get your percentage of return that you are comfortable with. For most people that are here, we're all fairly new, and not a ton of wealth. So this is where you make or break, for the cycle to happen. So, in my opinion, this is when you do something. You don't really want to sit on your hands unless you're tempted to sell. Now is not the time to sell. Now is the time to accumulate more as we touch some of these bottoms again. And you see some of these big sell-offs, people doing stupid things, in my opinion, to rotate at this point. You don't want to rotate at the lows. So
that was more of my point. Yeah, the people that are capitulation minded, it's best to sit on your hands or find something better to do. But yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. It is human nature and survival instinct when this stuff is happening to sell out of the position and go buy the thing that's doing okay. What we've been doing for 4 years is aggressively buying all of these prices and all these lows. And I don't think a lot of people would have thought Pulse Chain and a lot of other altcoins would be Pulse Chain's only a couple of years old, but near the all-time low in mid-November of 2025.
Right.
But that's the environment we're in. And, a lot of people will think the big story tonight is going to be, Prove X, and we're going to talk about that and everything, obviously. The big story is what we're talking about right now, and that is that the macroeconomic situation has not totally shifted yet. Ethereum's still not made a new all-time high. It's still the same shit house that we've been living in. And say all you want about what Richard should and shouldn't have done and like this and that about Pulse Chain. Most people are wrecked in whatever it is they're in. Like Brown, conservative capitalist, brought up Zcash in the chat. Like we've seen Ripple have a little run once this cycle. Zcash, Solana had a good time in 2024. There, but for the most part, I mean, risk on assets have not done well. So if you have any thoughts on that, but I really wanted to kind of end off Bitcoin and Ethereum with like, just time wise, what do you think here, Ewok? I mean, because it's basically 2026 or bust at this point. And by bust, I guess I just mean waiting even longer. But, we're at the point where we have non-believers out of anything, that's risk on assets. We have all these good things coming macroeconomic wise right now. You have guys like Tom Lee, who's just got balls the size of, I don't know, just out there giving awesome interviews on these old school legacy finance shows all the time, talking about Ethereum he keeps moving it back because it keeps underperforming, but like to 12K by the new year or something like that. I don't know. What do you make about a timeline here and where we can go in this cycle at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still sticking to the things that are gonna definitely pick up by the end of the year. We have so many bullish things that are coming down the pike. You've got the stimulus checks. If people do get $2,000, I remember in 2020 what happened when people started getting those checks and where the money went. You've got the quantitative easing starting or whatever, ending this beginning of December. So that's bullish. The rates are going to come down yet again, most likely. Things are just kind of setting in motion, or about to be set in motion for some very, very bullish times. So yes, the end of the year is going to be good. I think it will trail into, January, February at least. Again, I don't know that it's going to go too much past March, first quarter. I really don't. Again, when things run and when they go crazy and retail does get here, it doesn't take long for that blow off top to hit. So, you're still looking at a 8-week cycle or an 8-week period of time where things can just go absolutely parabolic and then have a blow off top. So, I still don't see it going into late 2026. I really don't. I see it, first quarter, maybe trail into April a little bit, but April has been historically bad because of taxes. People take profits just to, settle tax stuff and pay taxes off or do whatever. April is historically a bad month. So I do see it at the very, very latest trailing into there. And that's probably about it. But again, we've got to get started before we can finish. We keep talking about when's it going to be over? Well, when's it going to start? So that's truly the important part. I do see some very bullish things happening though here lining up for the end of the year.
One thing for certain there is everybody is probably going to think that April will be a bad month because that's just the narrative that's out there, obviously. So there is that to think about. But I do agree with you that the only scenario I think I'd be shocked by at this point, I'd be pretty shocked if the cycle were just ending. I will say shocked and obviously not happy. I'd also be shocked, if it did run like a whole calendar year from now. Like if basically the goalposts were moved one full calendar year, I think I would be kind of surprised by that. But I could see like even, mid next year before things start to descent or something. So that makes sense. You said something else I was going to talk about and I don't remember what it was now. So we'll just have to, we're still just waiting. I mean, it's not always fun to talk about, but this is the environment we're in. And again, with other altcoins and stuff like that, or anything, you can criticize the people that are behind some of them, and some of them deserve it. But in the environment that we're in right now, it's just been very hard for this stuff to run yet. So
you might have been thinking about that when I said about the stimulus checks and how they poured into the market in 2020. So
and I don't know if there's been a timeline set for this yet. We also didn't mention that the government shutdown. Is it officially ending? I know the Senate.
They were voting on it today. I didn't hear. I think it was at 4 o'clock Eastern. is when the vote was supposed to start. I don't know how. Usually, probably to get that many people together, it probably takes a couple hours.
So those of you that are not U.S. citizens, surprised that U.S. citizens don't even know if our government is shut down or not. That just kind of tells you how useless they are. But I also don't think I even knew that there was a government shutdown until 2 weeks into it taking place. So, but you know, I'm sure there's some people out there that rely upon it, obviously, and we're not happy. But anyway, it seems like it's coming to an end. Obviously, we figured that was going to happen eventually. I think whenever you've got a guy like Trump in office, there's always going to be people with dissent, and they want to, you know, like there are these statistics that the government shutdowns under Trump have been the longest ones ever. Well, everybody hates Trump, and you know they're going to fight, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got that. I don't know what the timeline is for these stimmy checks to be printed and sent out, but I think it's going to be within the next 6 months. So yeah, I mean, all this stuff is basically going to coincide. I think we have a window that started in September of this year that is going well into 2026, like at least halfway through, where we are having a better macroeconomic environment. Will that positively impact our altcoins? That's basically what we're waiting for at this point. So yeah.
Heck yeah.